Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the to the Overwatch that we have going on tonight. Yeah, entities, young, old, whatever age you are, wherever you're from, we're happy that you're watching because we've got some more games for you tonight. I'm out of class once again, joined by Shy Guy, and yeah, I think Shy Guy's been enjoying himself. He had a little bit of a break, so hope he's re-energized. How are you? Looks like not getting that much response out of him. What I will say though, which wasn't really a thing last game, we have MVP polls underneath the Twitch stream, so don't forget to vote for your favorite players after you've watched them perform, well, admirably, really.
Yeah, but, I forgot to mention that last time, and just like I forgot to unmute myself this time. So you know, that's the way it goes. But yeah, it's great to be here. We had an incredible match earlier tonight. Of course, Revolution taking down the New England Whalers 3-0. But a very entertaining match, especially towards the last couple of maps. And we have another barn burner here tonight with Roman's Next Gods taking on the Feeding Troughs.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting match because both teams obviously having shown some of their skills already, but the Roman's Next Gods really had some trouble, you know, going through the upper bracket at least. They got that 3-2 reverse sweep by the New England Whalers, and then they had some other. I mean, they did do well in their second match. They did actually take down Perfection with a 3-0, but they really they really have had a little bit of an experience here. Same can be said for the Feeding Troughs, though. I mean, they went down, they got a 3-1 win, then they went down 3-0, then they got a 3-0 win. So they've had one more game under their belt so far, but it's going to be interesting to see whether that's going to be enough to get them over the line this time. What I will say, though, both these teams have been showing some interesting things coming out. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It's very hard for me to peg exactly where both of these two teams lie. Now, having seen New England Whalers, I have, I guess, a little bit better idea of what to expect from Roman's Next Gods, at least in terms of their level of play. But, Feeding Troughs, they haven't been in very many close games so far. The one that they lost was to Phase 1, who is an excellent team. So it's kind of hard to really get a beat on exactly where they stand kind of in the hierarchy of a tournament like this. But I'm very excited to see what both of these teams bring to the table. It's been a long time since I've gotten to cast Roman's Next Gods, and they have an entirely different lineup from the last time I saw them. I think Red Sledge might be the only player that I recognize from having casted them in the past. So, this is definitely going to be an interesting series.
Yeah, it should be, and well, we're overdue for another one. So I'd say we're ready to get into these things. I mean, we're gonna go first map to Oasis, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm definitely happy to go there. Oasis starting on a control. It's something we're used to. We haven't seen it in the last series, started on Hollywood there, but Oasis is it's. I wouldn't say it's a funky map, but it's an interesting map in that it is a little bit more variable than something like Hollywood is.
Yeah, I kind of like starting out on control because I think it can give you a very good idea of exactly how these teams want to play. You can really kind of go with whatever style you really want to choose. There are certain things that don't work as well on control maps, like a bunker comp, for example. Not exactly the easiest thing to make work on control, but if you want to break out like DPS heavy compositions, it's definitely possible on maps like this. we're starting out in University, which is gonna be a little bit more 3-3 favored than either of the other two kind of sub maps here on Oasis, and that definitely looks like what Roman's next gods at least want to roll out with.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't look like they're gonna run out with anything standard here on the side of feeding Troughs. But then we know how it goes. They will usually just switch off to everything just before the match actually starts, and then they're gonna be on a very standard composition. Just going over that standard 3-3 matchup. But that's something we're expecting from this point. Like, this is not the one where we're surprised seeing anything standard. So let's see if what they're gonna be doing here.
Yeah, both teams gonna be posturing around the point to start things off. Bubbles being traded, cooldowns going down early, but Roman's next god's in a bit of trouble.
Oh, Red Sledge already going down. Akalash getting that final blow here. They're just being pushed into this corner. Machu, Lum, everything falling in tandem here, and they were thrown a little bit to the side there.
For sure, and they got in an awkward position at that point. Akalash gets in on a nice off angle for the D.Va, able to put down quite a bit of damage onto Red Sledge, who's got himself a bit too far forward.
Red Sledge now advancing, that bubble on him, gets a little bit of fueling. You're seeing something to actually get the kill into a brute shot, which is a pretty nice kill. No damage, no bubbles left. And it's going to be Finchu going very aggressive, almost goes down for it, but does manage to stay alive with that rally from Jakarion. But Jakarion is being dropped into the pit. That means there's a little bit more advantage here for the for the Roman's next gods. And Lum is getting another 2 kills onto Budget ML7 and on Jakarion. The Lucio popping off here. So Lum definitely lighting the way here for the Roman's next god.
Yeah, and I believe he was the one who sent Jakarion down into the pit in the first place, so denied a lot of the armor coming out from the rally as well as the healing from the Brigida, and gave his team a nice edge in that team fight that allows them to get a fairly quick flip here and build up their ult economy a bit.
And it's really been that relationship between Lum and Class Nation that has been so successful for the Roman's next gods. The D.Va bombs together with the boops. And you already see Lum just taking that aggressive position, wanting to boop everyone apart. But it's going to be Kala's grab being aided by Akalash, showing up to be a hungry D.Va over here. It's going to be a Transcendence coming out as well, because obviously there's no grab to defend against. Both Transcendences out, and even the sound barrier from Lum already. So that's going to be an easy sound barrier from Calculated. Doesn't use it though, so Finchu will fall, and Calculated going low also falling. Looks like it's going to be the Roman's next gods hanging on here.
For sure, and just not enough kind of commitment there from the side of the feeding troughs in my mind. They had so many ultimates online, but they hold on to a whole lot. Obviously, they don't get anything. Or, sorry, they get the Graviton Surge Eat to start that fight, but can't capitalize.
As their own Graviton not being easy, and Red Sledge caught into that, will be charged away from his team and will not go down. Finally will fall, but it was Finchu also being charged, so it is a little bit shakier for him. Lum once again going for an aggressive boop, gets Class Nation into his own team, and Class Nation being T-Mech as a result. Brute Shot will actually fall. Kala comes back in with a grab. Nice self-destruct to zone it out, but they're still losing players here for the feeding shots, and Roman's next gods coming back in with a shatter. Red Sledge getting the kill on the Calculated. No, the counter shatter comes in from Finchu. This fight's going to keep on going, but that's only in the favor of the Roman's next gods because they have the percentage ticking in their favor. And with 4% left, I don't know if anyone can make it back.
No, it's definitely not going to happen. The Doomfist just barely doesn't get there. To carry on trying to get there and try to stall things out for a little while. Not going to happen. There is Roman's next gods. They lose the first fight, but then come back and really put together a strong showing there on University.
Looking very good for them. And now we're going to get into those little bit of a different map where you see a lot of teams go for something else. And I don't know exactly what we're going to be seeing coming out here. I mean, if we have this double support with no tank coming out, that would be interesting for defeating Troughs. Does look like Roman X gods are going to go for something DPSC. So they're going to go with this quad DPS setup. Lum just spinning them out. Going to go with the Mercy.
And the very similar compositions here. Of course, Calculated gonna be picking up the Mercy, and they've got budget ML7 as well on the Ana, so a bit more healing, a bit more sustainability, but not that extra DPS.
Yeah, Finchu's already trying to distract him in the backline, but is almost taken down here by the likes of Class Nation and Kala. Will eventually fall. Meanwhile, Bruchop, though, gets the kill onto Kala. So that McCree firepower coming in, Yukarion taking down Class Nation, and with the res on Finchu, that's a definitive numbers advantage here for the side of the Feeding Troughs. With the points almost being flicked here, Roman's next gods, and barely being able to deny that. It does come through, even though the numbers are there for the Feeding Troughs. They will lose some valuable percentage.
They're going to get a very quick retake, though. A little bit of stall here, potentially coming out from Class Nation as he decloaks on the point. Will be forced to translocate out very briefly. So 14% on the board for Roman's next gods. Not a terrible outcome, but they would have preferred to win the first fight.
Already infra side out here from Kala. Let's see if they can hit some nice shots here. Already taking some aim here at the heroes, but it looks like they're hiding away pretty nicely. Oh, Calculated almost getting taken out there by Kala. Kala has to be careful not to be taken out themselves. So it's going to be a little bit of poke back and forth. It's going to be Red Sledge the first to fall. Bruchop is doing so much damage on the McCree. Also takes out Lucamino. And while Jakarion does fall, that will likely not be enough with Kala also falling. Looks like another fight win for the Feeding Troughs. And they're looking good with his DPS so far.
Yeah, they basically just win that fight on the flanks there with Bruchop watching their back alongside budget ML7. They take down the Wrecking Ball, get the kill onto the Tracer as well. And now they forced Lucamino into a McCree pick of his own.
Well, Lucamino immediately showing up with that. Takes Jakarion out of the sky. Bruchop going very low, but will be able to be healed up. And meanwhile, it's going to be Red Sledge and Budget ML7 going down. So a little bit of a trade here. But there's the EMP finally from the Romans next gods. And they will be able to clean up a few kills. That being said, though, there's still counter kills coming in from Akalesh. And the numbers are not by any means in the advantage of anything. The Feeding Troughs are pulling this one back.
Yeah, they get the very timely EMP there, and they completely turn that fight on its head. The initiation just not quite clean enough in that situation from Roman's next gods. And now they're staring down the barrel. This is the last fight for them here on the Gardens. They've got to make this one count, but they've got 0 ultimates to do it.
Yeah, they do have this triple support setup now, Machu being on the Brigitte, so they have switched up something here. And Budget ML7 immediately under so much pressure will actually fall here. There's going to be Class Nation out of the mech, Red Sledge falling, even Lucamino going down, so there's just nothing they can do, no ultimates to stop anything that the Feeding Troughs are doing. Bruchop finishing it off with a nice high noon, and that's going to be it for the second stage of Oasis. We're going to be tied up.
Certainly, and that was really well played by the Feeding Troughs there. They focused down Class Nation very early on in the fight, get the Bionade onto him, make sure they get the mech out of there immediately. And then once the defense matrix is kind of gone, there's nothing to stop the barrage coming in from Jakarion. There's nothing to really mitigate any of the massive damage coming out from the rest of the composition. And they cleaned that up pretty easily there on Gardens, and now we're gonna have a decider here on City Center.
Yeah, and City Center is the I would say the weirdest one, but the most interesting one of the three, in my opinion, because of that open point, and there's just so much stalling you can do. So there's such a large chance that the first team that's going to take control here is just going to hold on for it until 99%. But then when the other team takes it back, it could go the same way. At least we see the DPS come out for both sides, both Pharas. We even see the McCree and the Widowmaker once again. There's going to be Jakarion taking down Machu to start off with. Has been winning that Phara battle regularly here. Red Sledge being hacked as well, but it's going to be Finchu going down first. So a lot of interesting trades happening. Jakarion also falling. It's just these DPS. They're everywhere, and they're all doing these 1v1 matchups. They're so interesting to watch.
It is going to be Feeding Troughs getting the first capture here, but Budget ML7 in a bit of trouble. The flank comes in from Lucamino. He will go down. It's now just how long can they actually stall here? Probably not long.
Not that long. No. That's going to be about the same 14-15% mark that we just saw coming out from the Romans next cause on the last point. So a little bit of a flipped story there for that one, but so many DPS. And like I said, there's so many of these 1v1 fights going on. Is Jacarion taking out Luke Mino already? That's not what you want to have happen, I would say, if you're a Hanzo. But yeah, there's not really another option. Like, you have to peek sometimes to do damage.
For sure. Now Kala getting pushed back, forced to grapple away. Here comes the Deadeye. Well played.
Ooh, Lum. That's not a good thing, because that's your only support going down. And yes, Matthew takes down Brute Shot, but eventually with the sustain of both the Mercy and an Ana, they should be able to win this on the Feeding Trough side, and it does look like they're doing that. Lugmino and Kala are getting some counter kills, but the point is in the control of the Feeding Troughs now. Lugmino, does he get away with his life? It does look like it. Yeah, that was close though.
He's gonna be able to escape and reset, but you know, the decider in this next fight is probably gonna be which Sombra can hit the bigger EMP. Class Nation, Akalesh both have that one online. Could be very impactful here.
Yeah. Already a dragon. You know, it's the dragon coming out, not getting much. But Lugmino does get the follow-up onto Calculated because of that one. So it's going to be Akalesh having to throw out the EMP. They do get the kill onto Red Sledge and Lugmino as a result. And Class Nation and Match will also fall. I don't think the rest of Lugmino will make a difference, but who knows? Maybe he can get a 6k. It's possible. That was a quick fight, though. It looked to go into their favor, but then they just got overwhelmed.
Yeah, it was a nice opener from Lugmino to use his ult to force Lum out into the open, finish off the kill with the body shot, but the EMP, just too much there from Akalesh, secures the fight for Roman's next, or sorry, for the Feeding Troughs, and now we're into the tough territory for Roman's next gods here.
Lugmino already opens it up. Lugmino opens it up with a kill into Brute Chop, not being rezzed here. So it's going to be Machu being able to take another 2 kills on Akalesh and Budget Devil 7. Jacarion falling. This looks like a very good fight. Kala and Machu just popping off together. And not even a res from Calculated can get that one back.
Yes, but Roman's next gods out of wiggle room at this point. They have to win every single fight pretty much from this point out. You're not going to really have time for a recontest if you lose one. So they've got to be perfect from here, but they lose Kala early. Nice heads-up swap from Brute Chop to get onto the Widow.
Brute Chop had to prove himself, just saying, I can also play Widowmaker, but there's the counter EMP to the barrage of Jacarion, so it's still relatively even. Class Nation actually pulling it back with another kill on Akalesh, so it is even in numbers right now. There's going to be Lum going for that aggressive stance here onto the Widowmaker, and Brute Chop will fall because of Lugmino also chiming in here. So Lum trying to help with the cleanup, but will go down for it. Finchu and Red Sledge both on the point as their Wrecking Ball counterparts, but this fight is chaotic and all over the place. They're now moving over to this jump pad area. Machu and Jacarion fighting it out in the air once again. Both going relatively low, but it's going to be Jacarion winning out that battle. And it looks like it will eventually be the Feeding Troughs winning this out, especially with this EMP of Akalesh just coming in right now. And just, yeah, they're just going to be able to get out Lum, get out Red Sledge, and it's just going to be Lugmino on the high ground. He will be able to touch. I don't know if they know. I don't think they know he's there, actually. So Lugmino will be able to touch and actually go from dual on to Brute Chop. This could be maybe allowing them to come back in because Lugmino is proving to be hard to catch here. So Red Sledge will be making it back, is hacked up, and will go down straight away. But Lugmino stalling that out for a little bit longer than may be necessary. And it's going to be Feeding Troughs taking this one in the end.
It was a valiant effort from Lugmino to stall things out. He did give his team time to at least get back into the fight, but they just can't really find anything there. They can't put together a cohesive attack. And to me, the big thing that kind of won Feeding Troughs this final fight was the fact that they killed Jacarion, or sorry, the fact that they killed Madshu really early on into the previous fight. And then without the Pharah there, Lum was ground bound. He was stuck in a very vulnerable position, went down really late. He was the only healer on the side of Roman's next god in the comp that they were running, and without him there, they slowly just got whittled down to the point that they couldn't hang on. But a very entertaining opening map here. These two teams, neck and neck at this point.
Yeah, and it's just such a close opening map is already proving to be a very exciting prospect for the rest of the series. And now we're gonna get into this whole, map pick, map ban.
Yeah, and this is very interesting considering what we've seen from both of these teams.
Yeah,
neither of them are really kind of sticking to one style so far. Feeding Troughs looked very comfortable playing the Wrecking Ball with DPS around it, but Roman's Next Gods not too shabby on that either. They definitely were a little more comfortable on the GOATS matchup, it seemed like, on University. So they probably want to kind of lean into that with their choices here.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Paris is not going to be played, so we don't see the core bunker map come out. Like, that's the one where everyone basically just plays it on defense. But, there's still other options that could be explored to still get that out. We've seen it happen on Hollywood, we've seen it happen on things like Junkertown and Dorado sometimes. It's going to be Dorado actually being selected. And what do you think about the pick to go into Dorado?
It's interesting to me because I think it lends itself to having a lot of different styles, but I do think that in general, it's a pretty solid 3-3 map for the most part, but you can definitely still play around within that. So I think they might have been better off going with something a little bit, that favors GOATS a little bit more, but it'll definitely be an interesting map to see from both sides. I'm especially interested in what Feeding Troughs are going to bring out.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to see Mercy here being safe, which is not at all surprising when you look at that if Feeding Troughs played. But I don't know. I mean, the Mercy Protect is interesting. I mean, it's large. It makes sense to me, but that does open the question of what are you going to ban? Like, are you going to ban something like the Ana because they've been doing so well combining those two heroes?
That's definitely an option. I mean, Budget ML7 was very, very good on that pick, and his name suggests that that is a hero he's incredibly comfortable with. So it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea here for Roman's Next Gods. We'll be getting their ban in just a moment here, but
Yeah.
Ball, that makes sense to me because that kind of really neuters what Feeding Troughs were doing. It's a little bit hard to run the solo tank with most of the other roster. You can do it with an Orisa, but you play it very differently when you're doing that.
If I'm thinking about who was the better Wrecking Ball as well, I know Finchu did an okay job, did a pretty good job. I think Red Sledge really didn't get that much done with that hero. So I feel that Finchu not being able to play the Wrecking Ball is probably more of a detriment than it is for Red Sledge. And yeah, I mean, as a solo tank, yes, Orisa can also be run, which is something we might still see. But they're not going to have that same distraction engage tool as they would have with a Wrecking Ball. So it's going to be a little bit of a different story of how they run things here.
For sure. It definitely doesn't give them the option to play the style that we saw them be so successful with on Oasis. They'll have to be a little bit slower if they were going to play around in Orisa or something, or they might just decide to go in a completely different direction, if Finchu is not necessarily an Orisa player, more specializes in the ball and then your more traditional main tanks, then it might have just kind of nipped that in the bud completely. We'll have to see, but it does look like he's going to be picking up Orisa, which definitely makes sense here on the defense.
Yeah, you really say that Orisa is a very solid pick, both on attack and on defense. But on defense, Dorado, it's just such a good pick. It's such a classic pick as well lately. And they're going to go with this triple DPS setup once again. But this time, yeah, like you said, using the Orisa, they can't really use the ball because it's banned.
I think you might have seen the Orisa even if Ball was here. Like it probably in my mind on the defense of Dorado makes a little bit more sense. Now on the attack, it might be a different story. But looks like we're just gonna have GOATS on the other side. Roman's Next God, leaning into what they excelled at on the first map as well.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see whether they will make any swaps when the map progresses. It's going to be hard for Brute Shop to get any kills out. That's going to be the hard one. The only ones you can really go up after is going to be the Zenyatta and the Lucio, maybe. The Red Sledge already being down is going to provide a lot less cover, and they're already running back into spawn. Are they going to make switch?
Here come the swaps. Yeah, it's got to happen. Red Sledge at least over onto the Winston makes way more sense. He can't really get anything done with the Reinhardt. They're going to put Kala on Tracer as well. Look to go up around, come from behind here, cause a little bit of disruption.
Cheers, love. The flanking cavalry is here because Kala on the Tracer, Machu on the Sombra. They're going to just go behind them and blink and stealth around. They do already put Luke Mino under so much pressure, though. Like, the tanks and the supports are still having to get out of spawn. And meanwhile, Kala was already doing work, so just being taken out by Brute Chop. No space being made whatsoever. And yeah, they're trying to move the cart through this archway so they have a little bit more space to fight in a different position. Meanwhile, Budget Almost 7 just takes down Luke Mino, and this is not really a fight. This is just... They're trying to get to places where they really cannot get to without getting shot.
Certainly, they do now have the cart under the cover of the bridge, so they'll probably be able to take one a little bit further down the map, less out in the open from here on out. But they still haven't found any answers. They aren't putting really any pressure on Jakarion at the moment. The Pharah just having free reign to lay in rockets from on high. And they've got to do something to disrupt this defensive setup.
God, how would you do that, though? Because, yes, the Sombra really works with that, and then you can just set up a dive, potentially. But they're getting so much poke before they're in the position to do any sort of dive. So before they can even get close to the Orisa, the Pharah, the Sombra, the Widowmaker, like, they're all just peppering into them already.
For sure. What I would probably like to see them do is go for some kind of hack onto one of these members up on the high ground, perhaps the Ana, maybe the Orisa, and then set up a dive that way. It looked to be what they were going for, but then the two DPS, Kala and Machu, just kind of dropped down to the low ground. Kala got headshot by Brute Chop early in that fight, so they didn't get to kind of execute on the plan that it looked like they were going for. But I think that's probably the best avenue of approach.
Okay. So we had a little bit of a pause come out, obviously. I think we're about ready to get back into the game. Probably there's a little bit of a lag, something going on. That's all fine. We're just gonna continue here. Red Sledge, everything is just gonna be back in spawn here for
and more swaps.
Gods.
And now they're going to Winston Goats, which is what I expected in the first place. But they are going to rotate now as a team in cover, but Brute Chop still gets the shot.
They still get the shot out, and it's just they're not able to move out of spawn. Now we get Red Sledge going back up to the Reinhardt. They just seem to be a little bit lost. Like they just don't know what they want to do. Are they going to try and like charge something up here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was sort of expecting that Nano Winston to come out and just jump on them, but they're going to go around the long way, just trying to get into this corridor, and that's how you finally see Finchu backing up as well. The chill will be gone, they'll just return behind the choke, and the cart's been rolled back. I mean,
oh gosh,
they don't even push the cart while they're pushing forward here. And I think when Luke goes to that cart, what are they going to send there? Class Nation going to go to the cart. He's a little bit safer to be on there on his own, I feel as well. But Akalash already has that EMP up, so that could be detrimental. Setting up for that one.
Yeah, he's ready.
Brute Chop gets a nut. Oh, it gets stunned down. But there is still a barrage. Machu and Kala already down, but Red Sledge does get the kill into budget ML7. Not going to be a lot, but Class Nation at least gets that cart a little bit further, so they have a little bit more space to work with when it comes to the cart. But will Mino get out alive?
That was a great individual play by Machu there to stun out the EMP, but there was just too much other resources for the side of feeding Troughs right now, and they have got just a vice grip on this defense right now. They are playing so well. Roman's Next God completely bamboozled at the moment. They don't seem to have an answer at this point. Brute Chop gets another pickoff on the Machu.
Yeah. I don't know how that happens. I mean, I guess Machu has just put on a magnetic helmet of some kind because it just doesn't work. I mean, if Machu constantly goes down, that's a nice self-destruct that will separate the Mercy and the Pharah, and the Pharah will go down as a result. No Jakarion in the sky, and no EMP online as well. Akalash is close, so could potentially come out. But there's the Nano onto the Reinhardt, so we'll be able to keep winning and keep on winning, but Yes, they back off a little bit because of the EMP, but the EMP has not a lot of follow-up. Lom almost at the sound barrier. This could really work out very well for the Romans Next Gods. There's a sound barrier, gets everyone but Machu and Lucamino, and they're pushing them back. They're getting this space here. There's the 3 kills, and it looks like they will finally be able to get point A. But that took them a long time, and they really got to make some pace here.
Yeah, they did a really good job of dealing with that EMP, just backing off immediately for a short amount of time. And, you know, if you look at the comp that Feeding Troughs are running, they don't have a lot of easy kind of follow-up to an EMP. They can't all move in aggressively off the back of that. They didn't have the speed boost at the time, so they kind of don't really get anything out of that immediately, and it gives Roman's Next God a little bit of life here.
Yeah, it does definitely give them a little bit of life, but is it going to be enough? Because Machu is running forward with this rally. It's going to get hacked up, but that rally is such a sustain tool that it will still help everyone to just follow up and just get in there with Machu. There's the Graviton, which you have no defense against. There's no Zenyatta, there's no Lucio ults. They'll just get smacked in the face, and that's going to be calculated. Not being able to answer that one. So nicely done for the Roman's Next Gods, and they are making the pace that they're needing to make. And this composition that they're running on is really able to do that well.
Yeah, they just kind of punish Feeding Troughs for having to swap and having no ultimates online at that point. So, you know, now they're going to be getting staggered out here even more as Roman's Next Gods surge forward into the point C. Now we're looking at a very decent chance that they can finish this map, perhaps even with some time remaining.
Yeah, I mean, they do want to do that. 2.5 minutes is enough to do that with, I'd say, but that'd be close.
And they've still got the ult advantage right now. Akalef with that next EMP though.
Yeah, the EMP will just be able to shut everything down. There it comes in, and it will hack almost everyone. But Class Nation Lugmino is still there, so the self-destruct could be pivotal. But Kala already going down. I think they might just back up here after losing this fight, which they are looking to do. But that's at least the EMP out. That will mean that they have a lot more to work with than the defense here. Still no sound barrier for Calculated as well.
Yeah, he should be getting that in, you know, pretty early on into this next fight.
Pretty early on.
Not a terrible situation there, but nearly everything online. By the time this fight really gets going, Roman's Next Gods are going to have every single ultimate. So this is going to be a tough hold here. But the cart has rolled back far enough that they should get 2 fights.
They should be able to get 2 fights here, but still, I mean, you don't want to. And if they can move the cart along during a fight, the grab does come out here though. But the counter self-destruct from Class Nation, the sound barrier, they're using a lot of ultimates. Both teams are, but it looks like the trade is not. The kill trades are obviously going in the favor of the Feeding Troughs, but the general trades, are they going in favor of anyone really?
No, I mean it definitely works out for Feeding Troughs. There they crucially boop Red Sledge off of the high ground while he had the nano boost. Then they throw in the grab immediately. There's no shield to protect the rest of Roman's Next God, so they give up a lot of ultimates in that fight. This is now a very realistic defense, especially with this EMP coming.
Another EMP online from Akalash. There it comes out, hits anyone but Lugmino. Red Sledge first to fall. Class Nation is being melted here. It's going to be Kala and Machu also falling short, and Class Nation. It's just, that was the cleanup. And now they won't have the EMP for the next fight. And there's going to be another one. There's going to be one last fight. The cart is far enough forward that one good, clean fight will just win them the map here, or let them finish the map. But they will have to rush to get to the cart. They'll make it, but it will be a short fuse they have to burn here.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the Earth Shatters online. Lucamino will get his nano boost in just a moment.
Oh, the Shatter doesn't get anything. No Shatters getting any value there, but Jakarion is going to be the first one to fall to Machu. There's the nano once for Red Sledge. Yes, the anti-nade comes out, but it doesn't matter. If he's glowing red already, gets all the kills everywhere, and they are looking to be able to finish out this map right now. It is in overtime, but they do secure themselves at least another attack. EMP gets blocked out once again. That's the second one, mind you, and that's how they complete the map.
Yeah, that one was a little bit desperate from Magaleshi. It just built up to it, and you know, even if he gets it off there, his team not going to be there in time to stop the cart from rolling through. So after a very shaky start to their attack round here on Dorado, Roman's Next Gods pull it together for these last 2 points. Once they got into that Goats v Sombra Goats matchup, they looked so much more comfortable. It looked like something they've done 1,000 times, whereas dealing with that that triple DPS setup, they were really thrown for a loop at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's being able to throw another team for a loop is very good for not only for your own mental fortitude, but also to not have them have mental fortitude. I will say though, if you are the Roman's Next Gods, you're going to be pretty happy that you're still able to finish the map after the way that map started for them. So I'm interested to see where they're going to throw out their defense. It does look like they're going to do something similar with the Orisa, but the DPS and everything behind it is going to be so different here.
Oh, Machu on the Bastion. This is a very classic setup. The Orisa Bastion, just a very traditional duo here. They work incredibly well together. The stationary shield, the stationary turret, firing away. Luke Mino on the Batiste here is going to give them a lot of staying power with the amount of heals he can pump out. The Amp Matrix works incredibly well as, of course, the Immortality field. That's kind of the engine that makes it all go when you're running the Batiste. But I like what the response is here from the side of Feeding Troughs. The Sombra Pharah, I think, is a pretty good option here.
Let's see if Bruchup can get any kills out, because there's not that much room to get shots in. Red Sledge will be booped to the side, but no follow-up there. There's another pool, so they're definitely working with those CC abilities, but not getting much. And the defense is already backing up, going behind that choke now to set up a little bit more safely, and they're ready. They're going to be ready. They're going to be set up. Kala on the flanks, though, is maybe getting caught out. No, it's going to be the Baptiste there to heal it up in time. So the attackers have to try again. The Feeding Troughs now have to disposition them once again. And it's actually going to be Luke Mino and Kala under so much pressure from Jakarion already, but no kills as of yet. So let's see how this develops.
Can't go in like super deep, considering the
Akalesh.
He's playing on the razor's edge.
Machu is also being bowed down by this Pharah, but the Immortality Field, they at least force out the Immortality Field, but they don't really have anything to push with. Jakarion's getting very close to that ult. Akalash has that EMP ready, so it feels like they're going to make a... Yeah, they're going to make a push very soon here. The EMP gets everyone but Lum here. Jakarion going forward, they get the kill into Akalash, but every other kill is going into the favor here from the Feeding Troughs. They get the kill onto Kala. Lum gets the kill on Jakarion somehow. The Battle Mercy up, Kala being rezzed, and the ult from Machu gets Brute Shop. So they definitely have some tools here to work with. They don't quite cancel the res, but there's still numbers here for the Roman's Next Gods. They get the kill on Akalash as well. Kala on fire here, gets the kills, gets the High Noon. Will not get the kill with the High Noon, but definitely zoned them away. And the defense has reestablished, especially with that ultimate from Baptiste coming through. You're not wanting to push into this that easily.
No, they've got to just... It buys them some time here, especially along with that supercharger. Oh, actually, that's a supercharger
that's
for the attack.
Finchu.
Jakarion!
The double hit scan from Machu and Kala onto Jakarion is just not enough. And they have no res yet from Calculated, so they have to fight this. Now on even numbers, but I think Lum might be able to res that up pretty soon. So they could still be in favor. Class Nation, the classic self-destruct, will not get anything, but it will at least, slow down the offense for a little bit. So that buys them more time. Buys them more time for Kala to get back. Now on the Widowmaker, Class Nation, just on the flank, trying to deal with Akalash, trying to scan that Sombra out. Will just go down to very low health. No defense matrix, completely hacked up. Bruchup will follow Kala. Kala showing up on the Widowmaker. But it's going to be Jakarion dropping down, ready to throw out the barrage once again, but won't actually get it. Both him and Calculated going down. This fight's going so back and forth, but it feels like it's going to be the Roman's Next Gods being able to hold on here with Kala free firing from the high ground. Lum getting another kill. Oh, Lum's been so aggressive on this Mercy. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, he's making it happen right now, and Kala as well, chiming in big in that fight. Of course, not hit by the EMP, safe up on the high ground. Really gets a lot out of that. That barrage not going to be enough for the Feeding Trough here, and they are in some serious trouble.
Oh, and they get the rest of the Lugmino. Matthew will go down, so there's a little more damage coming out from the attackers now. But with 23 seconds, this is a fight. This is the one where it has to count, otherwise they won't be able to come back properly. There's the imprecise from Kala, able to shoot down anything he wants, including Jakarion, who's so far away with that Pharah. Now finally coming back into the fight, but it has to stay so low. That's not where you want to be as far. You want to fly around here. And Kala's just shooting into the shields right now, so goes down to Brute Chop. Class Nation going low. There's the Dragon. This will probably seal the deal. Brute Chop just showing up there in those last seconds on the Hanzo, finally getting the value they've been looking for.
That was very dangerous there for feeding Troughs.
So close.
Yeah, they take all the time they're given there, and now it's gonna be really hard to move incredibly quickly through this map. You know, the way these two teams are playing, the fights last quite a long time. It's gonna be difficult to meet the pace that they need to finish this map in time, but they've given themselves some life here.
They have, and I mean Jakarion is still on that Pharah. I think that might be a little bit too much, seeing as Kala has more sightlines on this point. But Brute Chop's taking that flank, so they are trying to distract the hit scan on the side of the feeding Troughs. Lugmino does get the kill on the Brute Chop though. Jakarion also falling, so the distractions weren't enough, and it looks like they're gonna have to try and reset. Although they are gonna try and fight this, but with Kala having that completely free flank to work with, he's just gonna pop off. Kala cleaning up 2 in a mech. Will just even go deeper into their spawn. Is almost actually at their spawn door now. And just going to be the stagger onto Akalash here. So, minute and a half left. No momentum here for defeating Troughs. And that's very different from what we saw from Rumbling's Next Gods.
And that could be a death sentence from them, or for them on this point. Lugmino in that fight hits an insane long-range sleep dart onto the... Oh my god, another pick from Kala here. He's kind of giving Brute Chop a taste of his own medicine after the last round. You know, Brute Chop was taking him down repeatedly early in fights, getting a little bit of revenge here.
Finchu just burned down straight away by Class Nation and the DPS. It's nice to see that coming out from the feeding Troughs here. But yeah, Roman's Next Gods looking very well. Jakarion getting taken down by another ult from Machu. 40 seconds left, and they're gonna have to try again. Yes, Akalash, you can eat a few rockets, but you can't eat everything. So Brute Chop trying to return to the fight. It's just gonna grapple back to spawn. They're gonna have to try again, and they won't have that much to work with either.
Yeah, the dive comp now coming out from the feeding Troughs here, trying to find some targets to go onto, but now they're gonna have to fight on the cart. Which puts them in a very vulnerable position. This Bastion can just rip through them.
There's gonna be, Machu showing up. I mean, all I can say, it's just a Bastion. I mean, people say it doesn't take skill, but you definitely need to aim with that guy, and it's gotten a little bit easier with the buffs, but Machu showing up, and Lum, I mean, just still being the aggressive Mercy. I think that's really something that defines the Roman's Next Gods, just that battle Mercy flying around the field every now and then. But yeah, they're really pulling it back here. So pulling the series back to 0-1, and at least no 2-3-0s tonight. That's the first thing we can say.
For sure, we are going to be at least seeing a map 4 here, and with how close these two teams have been, I have a feeling perhaps 5 maps might be in the cards as we go forward. A great response there from Roman's Next Gods. And I gotta say, I really think that the hero ban of taking the Wrecking Ball away from the feeding Troughs made a huge impact there. I don't think they seemed as comfortable on the attack, especially with Finchu having to play that Orisa.
Yeah, I mean, the Orisas were just so nice to see. I mean, the Wrecking Ball taking that option away was a very impactful one. I don't know if they used the Orisa as effectively on the side of the feeding Troughs. It looked nice the way they started out their first point defense, but after that they didn't really adapt to anything that RNG was doing, and RNG was. So good on them. And let's see if that trend kind of goes through the other maps, because if one team is going to be more adaptable than the other, and they're really thinking about how they want to adapt, and the feeding Troughs are more, we only will if we absolutely have to, then that could mean a bigger turn in the series that it will just go to RNG from now. But who knows? It might be map dependent as well.
For sure, and Feeding Troughs gonna have the map pick here, which they didn't there on Dorado, and they are of course going to be in control of the hero ban as well. So they still have a little bit of an edge here going forward. They're gonna be taking us to Ilios.
No, Ilios is gonna be the ban.
Oh, that's the ban. Sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself. RNG banning out Ilios. That makes sense to me. They don't really want to play another control map, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, it was close last time, but with the bans also not being in their control, I can definitely understand that want to go to another control map.
Yes. So now Feeding Troughs is going to be able to pick their map here. Of course, Paris and now Ilios banned out here. I feel like Paris probably would have been like right in their wheelhouse, honestly, but they were the ones to ban it out. So I guess not. Maybe it would seem to me to work really well with the style that they've been playing throughout this series, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they want us to take us. Dorado a little bit tough for them, and they're gonna force us to another control map anyways. They seem to think that that's their bread and butter, and want to go to Legion Tower.
Look, I don't want to say it's predictable because it's not. Like, they could have gone for other things. But yeah, it's definitely been a thing. What I do want to say, though, what is always unpredictable is what you guys think about our players. Because we do have this MVP full thing underneath the Twitch. I mean, it's there. It's this little nice panel. I think it's the second one from the left. It would be even more specific. Scroll down a little bit, click it, find out which player you like most. We've only seen 2 maps. We might see 3 more. It's all possible. So you can definitely wait with your vote, but just know it's there. Cast your vote whenever you're ready. You can vote more times with bits. We also encourage that. But yeah, you can definitely do it. If you're on DLive, by the way, because we understand DLive is a great platform. We don't really have MVP polls there. Not because you don't want to, because it's just not there yet. So just, pop over to Twitch, click the MVP poll, go back to DLive. No one will know, but we'll have extra votes. So you might just, encourage, the extra vote for the player you like. For now, though, that's not something you need to be concerned with. I mean, maybe it is. But enjoy some more Overwatch, because we're gonna go on to the next one. The first save on the heroes, which is gonna come through. It's gonna be Lucio. Lucio's gonna be saved.
That makes a lot of sense for Roman's Next Gods here. They were incredibly comfortable playing the 3-3, playing that GOAT style. We saw it on the final 2 points of their attack round on Dorado. We saw it for 1 point on Oasis, and they definitely had the edge there. And Lucio, of course, vital to play that kind of style. More so than I think any one hero. If Lucio gets banned out, that becomes a lot harder to do.
It does, but I mean, okay. So the Tracer ban comes through here from the Feeding Troughs.
Interesting. I don't know that that's going to have a lot of impact.
I was going to say, did anyone play Tracer at any point?
Kala played Tracer very briefly on that attack. Yeah. It didn't work very well for him. He got kind of completely demolished. So honestly, if I'm Feeding Troughs, I kind of want him to be playing Tracer. But I don't think that hero ban is actually going to have too much impact. It might, it could see some play on a control map, but probably not.
I mean, you could say we're trying to force them to play DPS, but we don't want them to play like the DPS. We don't want them to play that. We don't want them to play Tracer, so they can play, because they obviously play this double support lineup, and Tracer is very annoying for like backline supports. So that's maybe they protect their supports a little bit more, because if there's an equal DPS number matching up against each other, and then there's an extra Tracer versus 2 supports, then obviously your supports as the DPS to deal with who has no counterpart on your team. So that might be the reasoning. So like, we're never going to play the Tracer, but we're just going to deny you the opportunity to.
Yeah, I think that's really all it is that, Feeding Troughs know they have no plans to play Tracer here. So they're just kind of banning out something that, maybe we've seen RNG play it a little bit so far tonight. So it's definitely in Kala's hero pool, they know. So, it might not matter too much, but we're going to be starting things off on Gardens here on Legion Tower, and both teams, again, going back to the Wrecking Ball style here, Again, Roman's Next Gods only running with Lum on the Mercy as their only healer, whereas Feeding Troughs going back to the 3-2-1.
Yeah, it's gonna be Akalash falling straight away to a nice boop from Red Sledge. Did not quite make the translocate back up. Finchu, meanwhile, is taking position onto the point, so they are taking a little bit of space here, but they have to back up a little bit because of Akalash falling. So Roman Next Gods looking to be in a little bit of a more firm position here. As I say that though, Luke Mino will fall, so it looks like it's going to be an even fight here, guys. And Akalash is already back, so looking good for Feeding Troughs to a degree, but the damage is coming out on both sides. It's really going to determine what's going to happen from the next pick or two. And it looks like Machu and Kala and Red Sledge going so low that they might have to give up control here pretty soon. And that's what it is. Yes, the early mines came out, but it does look like the health bars are not going to be able to be sustained here on the side of Roman's Next Gods. And Feeding Troughs will take control first.
Certainly, that works out really well for them despite losing the first pick. Taking down Luke Mino with the headshot from from Jakarion going in on the side. They kind of had a 1v1 or a 1v2 since Jakarion had the Mercy there to protect him. It makes the difference there, and they get the edge they need, and now some swaps coming in for Roman's Next Gods.
Yeah, infra sites are out, but so is the EMP from Class Nation is up already. Don't know if they're going to get that much value with Class Nation also having to run with the team, but they could still. Doesn't really matter though, when Jakarion just gets the 4K, Finchu gets one, Bruchup gets one, but that's team kill, and that's a very quick one as well. Already 40% almost up here for Feeding Troughs, so they're looking pretty happy.
No, that's
what are the Romans going to do?
That's phenomenal.
What are these gods going to do here?
I don't know. They're making even more swaps at this point, going over to the Rhine 3-3 now, or the Rhine Somber Goats, I guess. But they're going to get EMP'd on their way in, and Red Sledge down very early.
There's nothing much they can do against that. They do get the kill on the Jakarion, so it is actually quite even here. And they have more sustain now with 3 healers, so they could very well just out-sustain the defense here, and they are looking to do so. Their own EMP coming in, budget ML7 and calculator already down, so no healing whatsoever for the Feeding Troughs here. Just going to be Finchu and Akalash on the point, but they're not going to be able to stall for long, and Akalash is going to translocate out.
And Feeding Troughs get a little bit too big for their britches there. They make the mistake. They got the opening pick off, and they wanted to follow through on the EMP, but in doing so, they take a fight that's not in their favor. They go into the close quarters of the hall over there, and they can't find the kills in that awkward situation for their comp.
Yeah, they really can't. They are going to try to come back in here, obviously, now. They don't really have any ultimates to work with as of yet, but they're probably going to have some throughout this fight. Class Nation will already fall to Bruchup. Bruchup really showing up on this Widowmaker today. It's going to be Red Sledge trying to get Finchu out of his ball form and just out of his life. But it's going to be Jakarion once again showing up with the double barrage. Bruchup putting, injured. Wow. I lost my bearings a little bit. Bruchup just puts the nails in the coffin like bullets through heads. Oh no, wait, that's the other way around. And it's just gonna be the cleanup here for the Feeding Troughs. Looks like they're gonna be able to touch the point maybe, but they have to do it quickly, and they're just taking so much damage approaching. Even the EMP, the mines, they already lost 2. This is not gonna go well here for the Romans Next God. Looks like this is gonna be the first point going over to the Feeding Troughs in the end, and yeah, I mean, even a Nano Farah just to make it matters worse for them.
And again, we're seeing that Roman's Next Gods, they don't really seem to be able to match up with Feeding Troughs when it comes to these Wrecking Ball compositions. They try to make a swap over to something they're a little more comfortable with, but it's a little too late. They get destroyed by EMPs, by Jakarion, raining in rockets on their way in. But now we head over to Control Center, where I think things will be a little bit more in RNG's favor here.
Yeah, it should be a little bit more in RNG's favor. It's very much like the University point on Oasis, which we saw to go into their favor. But it could still very much go to the Feeding Troughs. I mean, they are running Akalash on the Sombra once again, and the Sombra has been working out well for them. And to a large degree, they have been having some trouble with it on RNG side.
Certainly, they've not been able to hand the Sombra super easily. But now we're in a matchup that I think they're much more comfortable with. No other DPS to aid Akalash, so at least this first fight should probably be in RNG's favor.
Yeah, but look at how far Red Sledge is already. Isn't that ult charge? Jakarion will fall to Class Nation because there's obviously no D.Va, so little less defensive power here for defeating Troughs. Finchu will not be able to sustain a push like that. Akalash did almost get the hack onto Red Sledge, but not quite, so it's going to be a free push and a free take here for the side of RNG, and they're looking good so far.
They're in a very good spot here. They get Red Sledge gets stunned up a little bit. Now backing off to the safety of his team. The match was down.
First one to fall this time around. The Shatter is not getting anything for either team, but it's going to be Class Nation and Matthew, like you said, already falling. Red Sledge and Luke Mino soon to follow. Looks like Kala will be able to get some consolation onto Jakarion once again, but this is going to be the first take that that the feeding Troughs needed. 34% is everything they get on the side of RNG, but they have some ultimates that they walk away with.
Yeah, but Akalash has this EMP ready to go. As soon as they make their way through this choke, they're probably going to be hacked up momentarily, and we'll see if they can follow that up. An early grab, though.
Oh, and the grab from feeding Troughs completely whiffs, so there's going to be the sound barrier out from them, but they used 3 ultimates there. They do win the fight eventually, but they maybe have used a little bit more than they wanted to because their bank is almost empty now.
Yeah, the grab from Brooch up there is kind of a zoning grab in that it stops a lot of RNG from even coming through the choke in the first place. They can't really follow up on their Graviton Surge thanks to that EMP. So they do win the fight, which you have to do here. But like you said, so many ultimates used. This next one's going to be hard.
And they can't really rotate ultimates, and the Shatter does get Luke Mino on the ground, but the self-destruct gets more, so you don't even get the kill with support. 2 of yours fall. Brooch up also down. Class Nation on fire here, gets the final blow on the Finchu as well, so Class Nation finally warming up a little bit, because we haven't seen that much from the D.Va that won them the last game.
Yeah, and they took a very quick fight there, which is exactly what they needed. Stops the percentage for the feeding Troughs. No ultimate charge really gained in that fight for the team in red. Akalash still quite a ways away from this EMP. Gonna be poking from the high ground right now, just trying to build that up. We'll have it very shortly.
We'll definitely have it shortly, but if it's going to be in time, and if Lum is going to be able to counter, because he has that sound barrier ready. Finchu, purple, low, down, so quick. It's going to be everyone followed up again. You don't even have time to throw out that EMP. It doesn't do anything for you, so Akalash just gives up the life to Lum, and that's going to be the point held here for RNG. And 1-fight territory. That's where we're getting at now. I mean, they have to win this next one, otherwise they're going to lose the stage.
Yeah, and Red Sledge hits an Earth Shatter there. Only knocks down Calculate in that fight, but crucially it forces out the bubble, and that can't be used to save Finchu once he goes Biotic Grenade. Nice EMP there.
Nicer sound barrier from Lum, though. He was hiding very intelligently. Red Sledge does go down here to this charge of Finchu, and Finchu being completely red hot nano boosted is going to just take out everything in his path. So it's going to be the Romans next gods losing this point here, but they do still have another 2 fights at least to get back into this one. And they have their own Shatter, they have their own nano boost, and that bank is so empty on the other side.
Yeah, they used every ultimate in that last fight, and they had to do it, but it's gonna put them in a tough spot here. Red Sledge getting the the nano boost, but slept and boot back.
Is back up again, has that Shatter still ready, and Finchu is nowhere near his. So this could be a very good fight if they're able to put the Reinhardt out of position. There is a Shatter. He gets 3, and they get the follow-up as well. Jakarion already down. There's the grab. They have no support ultimates. Budget Demo 7 going down. It's just going to be Akalash, and that should be the point flip and the map cleanup here. Actually, this is stage cleanup. They're not done just yet, but they will tie up the map here.
The Sombra does get in for the stall here, and now the Doomfist is in the area as well. Will at least force out an overtime fight, but RNG should be able to get the cleanup here.
Look, unless you're getting kills here, this is doing nothing for you as defeating Troughs. You're just prolonging the inevitable. But that sound barrier, that nano boost, that could still do something because they do have quite a few members back here now. But once again, and he just the EMP and the grab, they get the follow-up. Class Nation does get brute shot, but it might not be enough here because Kala is nowhere near. Lum almost with that sound barrier does get that off, so that's the counter sound barrier, and they still have 2 tanks there. Class Nation gets the kill to Jakarion. This fight is chaotic. It's there. I thought it was over, but it's by no means that the case. Akalash gets taken out by Class Nation. Class Nation trying to put everything on his back here, taking down 2 in that fight. There's another shatter. Follow-up is there, and it looks like they finally might be able to clean it up, but that was a lot closer than we thought it was going to be.
Oh, that was scary for RNG for a second there. Oh,
so scary.
That was almost one of the craziest recontests you will ever see. Switching to the quick heroes to get back in time. Akalash with the massive EMP almost turns that fight on its head and ends Lijiang Tower right then and there, but no. We get more. We get a map 3 here. We're going to be closing it out on Night Market.
We are. And Night Market is really the one that is most neutral to these teams. But I do expect Jakarion to stick on that far. It's been working so well for them. Calculated is going to go over to the Mercy. It's going to be interesting. They are starting on the DPS this time on the other side. And Kala on the Widow has been a detriment to Jakarion to a degree.
Yes, but they've not really been able to win this matchup so far at all tonight, and they don't feel comfortable running the goats here on this stage.
Well, they don't have to, because it's already trading, and Calculated going down is bigger than Kala going down to a large degree. Luke Mino is under a lot of pressure from Akalash, and Finchu does get the sleep guard off. It's just dueling 2 heroes, wins the one against the Sombra, and now Finchu is still there alone, but he won't be able to trade out versus an Ana and a Mercy. Meanwhile, the rest of the Roman's Next Gods is also winning out. Bruchup does get rezzed up though, and Class Nation did fall, but also the res comes in for him. So it is going to be the Roman's Next Gods taking this first fight, and that is maybe not what you were expecting.
Yeah, no one wanting to give up that fight for sure. Feeding Troughs sticking around even after going down early. Almost kind of pull that back thanks to Brute Chop getting some nice headshots, but not quite enough for them to hold on. So Roman's Next Gods doing what they struggled to do earlier on in this series. They win that first fight. They get the percentage ticking up.
They do, and 24% already going. Bruchuk wins the duel against Kala, which opens up a lot of possibilities for Widow to just have free sidelines, but it might still not be enough. With Red Sledge going down, though, that's a little bit more impactful. That's 2 members up, 3 members up, or Bruchuk getting another one. Lucamino going down, so they will be able to flip the point. Only up to 42% in the end, so not too bad.
No, not too bad for the side of Feeding Troughs. They get that back about as quickly as they could have hoped for. And now they've got quite a few ultimates coming into this next fight. The EMP barrage is what I'm keeping my eye on. That could be enough to win this fight outright.
Are they going to do it, though? There's a Slam. Slam doesn't get much here, but they do get the EMP out on the Feeding Troughs side. That's a huge one. The barrage doesn't get much, but it doesn't need to when everyone's already down because of the EMP, and that's just a nice hold. They do have to use 2 ultimates for that one, though, so that they might want some of those back.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you look at the swaps that RNG have just made, their ult economy is not in a great spot. Class Nation, with the EMP, could be more than enough for them to win this fight, but it needs to be a big one, and Feeding Troughs are playing very spread out right now.
They are, but with these compositions, you might only need a pick or 2. That's all you really need in order to shut down what they want to do with all these multiple angles. If you take away 4 of their angles, or 2 of their angles, it doesn't really matter. They hack the Mercy out. She does get the Valkyrie out, but will not be able to res anyone. Bruchop gets another kill to Class Nation, gets another one Lucamino. Bruchop is on fire here, and that's really something they need to be start dealing with. Deal with this Widowmaker, because she is tearing you up.
Yeah, and I mean, that EMP just not getting nearly enough there. You can't hit just the Mercy. If she didn't have the Valkyrie out, maybe it's enough, because she'll float down to the ground. She'll be very vulnerable, but with the Valkyrie, she's still up in the sky. She's still doing all the healing, all the damage boost, and it doesn't really provide any value from one of the better ultimates in the game. Red Sledge trying to get in position to recontest and, gets caught out. It
does get caught out, does get taken out as well, but Do they? Yes, they do make it to the point. But there's so many kills just coming in once again. All the ultimates are there, and Class Nation not even close to the EMP, so they won't be able to answer anything. Red Sledge, the lone survivor, but is also losing the life there, and that's going to be another map going over to the side of the Feeding Troughs.
And Roman's Next Gods, they never get to use basically any of their ultimates during that round. They never built up to a Primal Rage, a Self-Destruct, a Sound Barrier. The only thing they really got to use was a Nano Boost and one EMP, and obviously they didn't really get much out of it. So just a very tough situation there. They're in a position where they aren't very comfortable playing against the DPS setups of Feeding Troughs. And now we're at 2-1, but things swing back a little bit as Roman's Next God's gonna have the bans and whatnot going into our next map.
We are, but like it's so important to note as well that yes, they have 1-2 maps now, but they were both control maps, and there's none left in the pool. So, you know, take from that what you will, but they have been one-tricking one game mode so far, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to carry them to the victory. That's still very debatable whether it will be, because RNG has been showing more adaptation than Feeding Troughs have, and with different maps coming out, that could be a big deal.
Certainly. Well, one map that won't be coming out here is going to be Hanamura, getting banned out by the Feeding Troughs.
Another assault map bites the dust, guys.
That's interesting to me because in my mind, the assault maps are probably a little bit more favorable to running these DPS comps that Feeding Troughs have relied on so heavily, especially on the first points. I mean, it gets much harder when you roll into point B with something like that on nearly any map, but they've now banned out, Paris and Hanamura, so they definitely don't seem to like the assault maps at all.
But isn't that the key though? Like you're saying, yes, it works on first, but it doesn't really work on second.
Fair.
And that's something you're saying like, yeah, because it doesn't work on second, and they do run something that works on second, that kind of loses you the edge.
Right.
So that does make sense in that case.
Fair
but
enough.
I mean, that's probably the case for most maps in this pool that's left though. Like everything but control, the DPS one might work on first, maybe on second, but almost always on third, just falls apart, and that's why you see them go to Hollywood. DPS might work on first, but after that,
Yeah, and I mean, that's why in my mind, at least this next map is probably, I'm leaning towards RNG. From what we saw in Dorado, they're going to be much more comfortable on the compositions that are meta for this map. Like you said, once they get into that third phase of Hollywood especially, it gets very hard to run anything that is not 3-3 or a variation thereof, and that's been RNG's bread and butter so far through this series tonight. And Feeding Troughs will have to find an answer for that. They are going to save Mercy here, which definitely makes sense. Jakarion has been insane on that Pharah, and you kind of need the Mercy to be his companion in the sky.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I mean, Calculated has been showing up on that Mercy very well, so I do understand them picking that one. And you could even say that, the Mercy could be used with something like a Bastion Bunker Comp or something else. So the Mercy is a little bit more versatile than just a Pharah partner, but that has been Jakarion's go-to. So it has been something that they're very comfortable with running. RNG, though, they're going to ban the Sombra, and I think that is such a wise decision.
Yes, Akalesh has definitely been performing on that hero so far tonight, especially on that last map when you kind of compare him to what Class Nation was able to do on that pick. It was no contest in terms of who was getting more value out of the Sombra. So I very much like that from RNG. It's going to give them a bit of an edge here on Hollywood. They will be starting out on the attack, so I'm curious to see what the Feeding Troughs are going to roll out with here on the defense. I have a feeling it might be another Orisa triple DPS setup like we saw on Dorado that nearly got the full hold on point A.
Yeah, we did see that come out, but like the full holds that we've seen on Hollywood have nothing to do with what we saw coming out on Dorado, though. Most of the time, we just see this GOATS composition set up on the high ground, and then they drop down to the other GOATS composition, that happens. The only other holds we see are due to bunker comps just not being able to be broken. And does look like that's something we might be able to see come out here from Akalash and Finchu, throwing out the Orisa main tank. I think so. It is interesting, but there's a reason why you do this, right? There's a reason why you can do this and how it works.
Yeah, no, it kind of splits your team into two different kind of three-man units here in a way, where you've got Akalash, Brute Chop, Budget ML7. They're going to be sitting back up on the high ground in the cafe. They're kind of a mini bunker setup in and of themselves, where you've got Finchu, Jakarion, Calculated. They're going to be out in the open a little bit, laying in the damage, harassing RNG as they try to come in here. And they're going to be rolling out with a 2-2-2 Wrecking Ball setup of their own, but now might be headed back to spawn to make some swaps. At least Red Sledge.
Yeah, they're scouting a little bit, so Red Sledge will go over to that Winston. He just scouted out what they had. Gonna try and poke out a little bit. Kala still on that Hanzo now. No longer on the hit scans, and it's gonna be Machu. They just want to put on a lot of spam on the shield, just win the shield wars, I suppose.
Certainly, but it's gonna be difficult considering you've got Red Sledge on the Winston. That's not gonna
doing
be
it.
Shield break. They're kind of doing it. They're taking up position on the point, but there we go. Red Sledge goes down.
Red Sledge goes down, but I mean, in Class Nation, Kala also falling, but they did do a little bit of damage there. Like, they did get close enough in order to start doing things. Red Sledge now goes over to the Reinhardt, wants to probably give his DPS a little bit more room to work with. Kala going over to the Zarya.
They're going ghosts.
They might just go for the full 3-3. Oh, no. Kala's going to go over to the McCree.
Okay, I like that.
So they do realize there's more to deal with than just running 3-3.
Yeah, no, I like going with the kind of protect the cowboy composition here. Kala's still going to be able to put a good amount of pressure onto Jakarion, not just give him free reign, and they're going for the long rotation around the back. They're
Finchu wanted to boost them back out,
but he
didn't have the momentum. No,
He'll get rezzed.
Okay, yeah, but he didn't have the momentum to get backed up. Now they have to move the Orisa. The shield isn't there yet. And he's going to be able to take position on the point now. Oh, the high noon, the boop, it gets Kala. It's so nicely set up there. Bruchup also falling up on Lum and Glass Nation falling. That looked so good for RNG, but they're not able to follow through on that.
And I'm kind of wondering if they maybe should have stuck around after they got that kill on the Finchu and denied the res. They continued the rotation all the way around the back. The res came in, and that slam from Finchu was actually huge in setting Brute Chop up for the big dead eye.
That was the thing that set everything up, like you say, and I was really surprised the res went off that easily as well. They are going around the other way now. They're just going to go straight up the high ground. But it is going to be Jakarion ready with that barrage, sliding up on the roof here. We'll probably drop down and use that pretty soon. But they're moving around. They're not sticking in one place. You let Jakarion get that easy of an angle. They're going to go around the far back, giving Kala maybe a little bit better angle. That's nicely done. Jakarion is going to be put under pressure a little bit together with Calculated.
Yeah, he's got to be careful with his barrage.
There's the barrage.
Oh,
but he kills himself. He's in the Red Sledge's shield straight away, so we'll just get the splash damage. And that is a big deal because Budget ML7 will not have a nano to save anyone. There is the damage boost from the supercharger, but that will also fall. There's another high noon. Everyone's just hiding. He's already canceled it. No one will be able to get anything done here. Finchu drops in again, but has to roll away. One will fall. That's a big deal. Jakarion back on the Doomfist is going to try and get some kills here with that, and gets the kill on Akala. Class Nation as well falling. Red Sledge falling. And that looked like a decent start to the fight once again for the Romans Next Gods. But they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, a little bit of a faux pas coming out from the side of the feeding troughs. The slam from Finchu actually knocks Red Sledge's shield right into the barrage. That's what killed off Jakarion in the first place. But they use the supercharger, they use the Valkyrie. That the combined damage boost there means that RNG just cannot move forward. There's no way. So they lose time and they eventually go down.
Kala now has the High Noon, but not able to pull it off. I did press the Q button, but they took push down. There is a sound barrier. The Shatter just doesn't get anything from Red Sledge. There's another High Noon from Brute Shop, and I don't think they're ready for this one because Class Nation is just gonna go down. They do get the kill on Jakari on here, but I don't know if that will be enough. They do have the supports, but they don't have the tanks. They don't have the damage. It's just gonna be the defense holding on here, and it doesn't look like they're gonna be this dethroned as the point. Yes, there was 35.5% given over, but this is a good hold here for defeating Troughs.
No, absolutely. That's an incredible hold, and now an incredible win condition for Feeding Troughs as they look to close out this series here on Hollywood. They're in the driver's seat at the moment because they need just a little over a tick here. And the way that they play, the triple DPS setups that they've been showing us all night are fantastic for this situation.
They are, but I will say that because it seemed that they sometimes had a little bit of a window to do stuff with on the side of the RNG, but they never really got the follow through from that. Is there like a reason why they couldn't? Was it just a good play for the defense, or?
I think for the most part, it really was just very well played by the side of Feeding Troughs, and RNG. They did a decent job of adapting earlier on in this series. But I just think if you are going to play the GOATs like that, I think you have to go for that long rotation around the back. You have to force them to take an actual fight. And you can't do this when you're rotating around through the alley or going up to your own high ground. You can't really force a fight to happen that way, which is exactly what you need to do as the GOATs team. But I like what we're seeing here from RNG with their backs against the wall. They're back to the bunker comp with Madshu on the Bastion here. And if you remember, this is something that Feeding Troughs struggled with the first time around.
Yeah, it does look like that's going to be something that they have to deal with once again. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sombra is still banned. So that means it's going to be much harder for them to break it this time around without a hack, because that was really something that was very detrimental to the defense last time.
Yeah, I think they're kind of going to have to go all in on the shield break here to try and get a pick from long range, because the point is going to be basically a no-go zone for the attackers right now. That Bastion, too dangerous to mess with.
Woo! Brute Shop going over to that Junkrat. They're really going to go for the shield break. Finchu going behind him, though. He's behind him. He probably wants to boot people off the high ground, but they're ready for him. They're just like, no, we're just going to stand in this corner. You're not going to be booping anyone off today. Class Nation stalling out the point a little bit while Kala and Machu trying to get the damage down. But Finchu is just a menace, booping around everyone he can find. And right now is just, they have to get in somehow. They still have to find the angles.
And they're taking their time right now. They're doing a good job of bursting down the shield.
Sledge.
There we go.
That's not the one. And Class Nation does get root shot, but Finchu meanwhile gets Lum. Kala falling. Yes, you get the kill on Akalash, but with just Class Nation and Machu, you should not be able to get anything done. And 35.5%, that's the only thing they need to get. Calculated gets the resin to Akalash, and it looks like it's going to be the Feeding Troughs getting the final nail in the coffin, the final tick on the objective, and that is a series.
And that'll be it for Feeding Troughs. And, you know, we talked about it. If this map progressed further and further, getting into point C, it started, you know, it would have been good for RNG given the way that they like to play, but they never got the chance. They just can't find the answer on the attack, and they get completely shut down, get unceremoniously ejected from the tournament here. But Feeding Troughs going to be moving forward, keeping their chances alive and making their run through the losers bracket.
Very nicely done here. Feeding Troughs obviously not meeting our previous teams in the next rounds. They're gonna have to play against the not winner basically of the upper bracket round 3 Redacted versus Citizens. So whoever they're gonna face, they're gonna have a good team against them, but still interesting to see who that's going to be and what they're going to be able to pull up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it because you gotta say, no matter what you think about the series, that was just entertaining to watch. When Feeding Troughs are breaking
100%.
out these triple DPS compositions, it's so much fun. I love watching it. I love casting this kind of Overwatch. It breaks us out of the rut a little bit here, and I'm so thankful for that. But what else I'm also thankful for is the player joining us for an interview now. Jakarion, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing fantastic after that series. Y'all put on a show for us for sure, and really putting together some entertaining Overwatch. So I commend you for that.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
So I'm curious if there were any times in this series where you felt like things were not going in your favor, how you kind of responded, especially on Dorado. You almost pulled off the full hold, and then the momentum kind of got away from you there. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, I feel like especially on Dorado, we kind of had a plan in mind, and we kind of wanted to, we were like, okay, we're gonna be able to hold them first point, and it'd be kind of easy and straightforward. But as you probably saw, after our hold was pretty good, but when we were attacking, things started to fall apart, and I guess I don't know. At least me personally, I think I kind of choked a lot on that attack, but I don't know. Yeah.
So I'm curious on that attack round. The wrecking ball was banned out, and that's obviously something that you guys are really comfortable playing around. Would that have been the plan normally for an attack round on Dorado?
Generally, yeah. That ball would have kind of really, or as you've seen, our ball comps are generally what we do well on, I guess, to some extent. And so, I don't know. I feel like if we were to have ran the ball, it probably would have been an easy crush on Dorado, I guess. But I don't know. Having to default onto Orisa was kind of weird for us, I guess. But that was about it.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. And then of course, you got to bring the ball back out on Hollywood and made a really good showing out of it. I want to talk a little bit about the composition that you ran on that Hollywood defense to pull off the full hold. Is the Wrecking Ball Orisa is a little bit of an unorthodox kind of composition. What is the thought process for running something like that?
Well, it's mostly that we can have our McCree and Orisa sitting on the high ground, constantly pelting them with damage and kind of taking their attention away, while we have Finchu, kind of our ball player, running through, disrupting their back line, kind of shredding them to pieces a bit, I guess, and kind of just disrupting them in total. And then I'm on the Pharah with Kanto, and so we're just kind of adding on to that disruption that our ball gives. And while it is unorthodox, it seems to have worked out for us. So, yeah.
Certainly, and we've been seeing lately a lot of kind of the meta slowly but surely shifting and opening up to allow for more of the kind of things that we saw from you guys tonight. These triple DPS compositions. How excited as a DPS player are you to see that kind of shift happening?
You have no idea. Absolutely none, dude. I've been stuck on Brig Jail for the past year and a half, and I'm so glad to be finally being able to play the heroes I have ground for the past 3 years. So being able to play things that aren't Brigitte is very exciting to me. It's something that I'm looking forward to as the meta continues to shift away from goats.
Yeah, I mean it's very much a breath of fresh air on our side as well. I love to see these kind of compositions that you guys get to run now, and it just brings a whole nother dimension to Overwatch, because now you've got the stylistic differences between teams, whereas for a very long time it really came down to just which team was running goats better. But it's so much fun to see a little bit of that kind of hero swapping and clash of styles that Overwatch it was kind of always meant to be. And it makes for some very entertaining games, at least on our end. As we look forward to the rest of the tournament here, you guys making your run through the losers bracket now will get a further chance at redemption as you move forward. Are there any teams left in the bracket that you kind of have your eye on that you want to take a shot at?
Well, if I'm being honest, all of them. I want to take each and every single one of them down, in tournament or not. I feel that we did get knocked down to the losers bracket, and that was unfortunate. But no, it's our redemption arc now. It's time to clap. I feel that I don't know. I'm not really scared of any of them, and I'm ready to take them on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after what we saw tonight, I can't imagine that you guys have any fear whatsoever. A very, very good showing all around. We saw, throughout that series, you guys banned out both of our assault maps here tonight. Is there any particular reason, or is assault just not something you guys like to play?
We're capable of playing assault, and we're competent on it, but it's probably our least favorite game mode of them all, and so we just kind of wanted to get them out of there if possible.
Yeah, more a preference thing rather than any particular kind of strategy.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean, do you think it might be a little bit harder to run your style with the triple DPS, especially once you get into kind of point B on a lot of assault maps?
I don't think so, because especially with Finchu being our ball player, he can really turn the tables. It doesn't matter what map we're on, so I don't think so. I think we do fine.
Okay, well, that more or less answers all the questions I had, man. Class, you got anything on your end?
I mean, not really. I'm just happy to see happen what happens. So yeah, thank you for that. Do you have any shout outs you want to do?
No, I want to shout out my mom. No. I don't know, honestly. I guess, like I said, just my entire team, I guess, because they've kind of built up our team and comp together, and so I don't know, just the team in general. I'd build up. I don't.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta give love to the guys that you practice with so much, right? A little bit. But yeah, I mean, good luck in the next games. Obviously, I mean, you gotta have to watch for Redactor Citizens coming your way next. That's not gonna happen too long from now. It's 4 or 5 days away, so that should be a good one. But yeah, for now, that's at least it for you.
Right.
But we do have another nice one that Kala got the MVP vote. So that is something that still congratulations to Kala for that one. And yeah, nice to see.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah. We really appreciate it, and thank you everyone at home for joining us here tonight. It's been a pleasure bringing you these games. These have both been incredibly entertaining series here tonight, and of course there's always more Overwatch to come here at the Watchers Brawl. We'll be back with streams tomorrow night for a couple of quarterfinal games in the upper bracket. And we'll, of course, see who is going to be meeting both of our victors tonight as they fall down into the lower bracket as well.
Yeah, and for now, like you said, that's going to be it for us. But don't forget to follow us on DLive, Twitch, on Twitter. It's all going to be a little bit different than you're used to. No longer the Watchers OW. It's actually going to be moving on to be Star Esports now. So if you see that black star with the wipe stripe on the orange background, that's when you know you're in the right position. And yeah, we're going to be happy to bring you more and more events in the future. So definitely tune in on those. And I've been Man of Class, joined by the wonderful Shy Guy. And we'll see you in the next one, guys.
Have a good night.